LOST ENKI TV.
Synopsis of the 8th Tablet. Adapa's wide understanding amazes Nibiru's savants. On Anu's orders, Adapa is brought to Nibiru. An Earthling's first ever space journey. Enki reveals Adapa's parenting truth to Anu. Enki justifies his deed by the need for more food. Adapa is sent back to start farming and shepherding. Enlil and Enki create crop seeds and sheep lines. Ninurta teaches Cain crop cultivation. Marduk teaches Abel shepherding and tool-making. Fighting over water, Cain strikes and kills Abel. Cain is tried for murder, sentenced to exile. Adapa and Titi have other offspring who intermarry. On his deathbed, Adapa blesses his son Sati as his heir. A descendant, Inkami, is taken by Marduk to Lamu. Let Adapa, the Earthling, to Nibiru be brought. So did Anu his decision declare. By the decision Enlil was not pleased. Whoever of this would have thought that by a primitive worker fashioning, like us the being would become. With knowledge endowed between heaven and earth will travel. On Nibiru the waters of long life he will drink, the food of long life eat. Like one of us, Anunnaki shall the one of earth become. So was Enlil to Enki and the other leaders, saying. By the decision of Anu, Enki too was not pleased. Sullen was his face after Anu had spoken. After Enlil had spoken, with Enlil his brother Enki agreed. Indeed, who of this would have thought? So to the others did Enki say. The brothers sat and contemplated. Ninmah with them was also deliberating. The command of Anu cannot be avoided to them, she said. Let Adapa by our young ones to Nibiru be accompanied, his fright to diminish, to Anu things explain. So did Enki to the others say. Let Ningishzida and Dumuzi his companions be. By the way, Nibiru for the first time with their eyes also see. By Ninmah was the suggestion favored. Our young ones, on earth born, of Nibiru are forgetting. Its life cycles by those of earth are overwhelmed. Let the 2 sons of Enki, as yet unmarried, to Nibiru also travel. Perchance brides there for themselves they shall find. When the next celestial chamber from Nibiru did arrive in Sippar, Ilabrat, a vizier of Anu, from the chamber stepped off. I have come to fetch the earthling Adapa, so to the leaders he said. The leaders to Ilabrat Adapa presented. Titi and her sons to him they also showed. Indeed, in our image and after our likeness they are, so did Ilabrat say. To Ilabrat, Ningishzida and Dumuzi, sons of Enki, were presented. To accompany Adapa on his journey they have been selected to him, Enki said. Anu, his grandchildren to see, will be pleased, so did Ilabrat say. To hear instructions, Enki Adapa to him summoned. To Adapa thus he said, Adapa, to Nibiru, the planet whence we had came, you will be going. Before Anu, our king, you will come. To his majesty you will be presented. Before him you shall bow, speak only when asked, to questions short answers give. New clothing you will be given, the new garments put on. A bread on earth not found they to you will give. The bread is death, do not eat. In a chalice an elixir to drink they too will give you. The elixir is death, do not drink. With you Ningishzida and Dumuzi my sons will journey. To their words hearken, and you shall live. So did Enki Adapa instruct. This I shall remember, Adapa said. Enki, Ningishzida and Dumuzi summoned. To them a blessing and advice he gave. Before Anu the king, my father, you are coming. To him you shall bow and homage pay. By princes and nobles do not be coward, of them you are the equals. To bring Adapa back to earth is your mission. By Nibiru's delights be not charmed. This we shall remember, Ningishzida and Dumuzi said. His young one, Dumuzi, Enki embraced. On the forehead he kissed him. The wise one, Ningishzida, Enki embraced. On the forehead he kissed him. A sealed tablet in the hand of Ningishzida unseen he placed. To my father Anu this tablet in secret you shall give. So did Enki to Ningishzida say. Then the 2 with Adapa to Sippar departed. To the place of the celestial chariots they went. To Ilabrat, Anu's vizier, the 3 of them themselves presented. To Ningishzida and Dumuzi, The garb of Igigi was given, like celestial eagles they were dressed. As for Adapa, his unkempt hair was shaven, a helmet as that of an eagle he was given. Instead of his loincloth, a tight-fitting vestment he was made to wear. Between Ningazida and Dumuzi, inside that which ascends, he was placed. When the signal was given, the celestial chariot roared and shuddered. In fright did Adapa cower and cry out, "The eagle without wings is soaring." Upon his sides Ningazida and Dumuzi their arms placed. With soothing words they him calmed. When 1 league aloft they were borne, upon the earth they glanced out. Its lands they saw by seas and oceans into parts separated. When 2 leagues aloft they were, the ocean to a tub grew smaller. The land was the size of a basket. When 3 leagues aloft they were, again they cast a glance whence they had departed. The earth was now as small as a ball, by a sea of darkness in the vastness swallowed. Once again Adapa agitated was. He cowered and cried out. "Take me back," he shouted. Ningazida his hand on the neck of Adapa put. In an instant was Adapa quiet. When they on Nibiru landed, there was much curiosity. The children of Enki, on earth born, to see, even more so an earthling to encounter. A being from another world on Nibiru has arrived. So were the crowds shouting. With Illibrat to the palace they were taken to be washed and with perfumed oils anointed. Fresh and befitting garments they were given. Heeding Enki's words, Adapa the new clothing did put on. In the place nobles and heroes milled about. In the throne room princes and counselors gathered. To the throne room by Illibrat they were led. Adapa behind him, then the 2 sons of Enki. In the throne room before Anu the king they bowed. From his throne Anu stepped forward. My grandsons, he cried out. He hugged Dumuzi and he hugged Ningazida. With tears in his eyes he embraced them, he kissed them. To his right Dumuzi he bade to be seated. On his left Ningazida sat. Then Illibrat to Anu the earthling Adapa presented. "Does he our speech understand?" Anu the king of Illibrat inquired. "Indeed he does. By the Lord Enki was he taught," Illibrat so answered. "Come hither," Anu to Adapa said. "What is your name and your occupation?" Forward Adapa stepped. Again he bowed. "Adapa is my name, of the Lord Enki a servant." So did Adapa in words speak. His speaking great amazement was causing. "A wonder of wonders on earth has been attained," Anu declared. "A wonder of wonders on earth has been attained," all the assembled shouted. "Let there a celebration be. Let us our guests thus welcome," Anu was saying. To the banquet room Anu all who were assembled led. To the laden tables he happily gestured. At the laden table bread of Nibiru Adapa was offered. He did not eat it. At the laden tables elixir of Nibiru Adapa was offered. He did not drink it. By this Anu the king was puzzled, was offended. Why has Enki to Nibiru this ill-mannered earthling sent? To him the celestial ways reveal. "Come now, Adapa," to Adapa Anu said. "Why did you neither eat nor drink? Our hospitality rejected." "My master the Lord Enki commanded me, the bread do not eat, the elixir do not drink." So did Adapa the king Anu answer. "How odd is this thing," Anu was saying. "For what has Enki from an earthling our food and elixir prevented?" He asked Illibrat. He asked Dumuzi. Illibrat the answer knew not. Dumuzi could not explain. He asked Ningazida. "Perchance in this lies the answer," Ningazida to Anu said. The secret tablet that he carried hidden to Anu the king he then gave. Puzzled was Anu. Anu was concerned. To his private chamber he went, the tablet to decipher. Now this is the account of Adapa, of civilized mankind the progenitor, and how his sons Cain and Abel, satiation on earth was started. In his private chamber Anu the tablet's seal broke open. Into the scanner the tablet he inserted, it message from Enki to decipher. "Adapa by my seed to an earthling woman was born," so did the message from Enki say. "Likewise was Titi by another earthling woman of my seed conceived. With wisdom and speech they are endowed, with Nibiru's long lifetime they are not. The bread of long living he should not eat, the elixir of long life he should not drink. To live and die on earth Adapa must return, mortality his lot must be. By the sowing and shepherding by his offspring on earth satiation shall be. So did Enki the secret of Adapa to his father Anu reveal. By the secret message from Enki, Anu was astounded. Whether to angry be or laugh he knew not. Ilabrat, his vizier, to his private chamber he summoned. To him he thus said, That son of mine, Ea, even as Enki his free ways with females has not mended. To Ilabrat his vizier the message on the tablet he showed. What are the rules? What is the king to do? Of his vizier Anu inquired. Concubines by our rules are permitted. Of interplanetary cohabitation no rules exist. So did Ilabrat to his king respond. If damage there be, let it be restricted. Let Adapa forthwith to earth be returned. Let Ningazida and Dumuzi longer stay. Anu then Ningazida to his private chamber summoned. Know you what your father's message said? Of Ningazida he inquired. Ningazida, his head lowered, with whispering voice he said, I know not, but guess I can. The life essence of Adapa I have tested, of Enki's seed he is. That indeed is the message to him, Anu said. Adapa to earth forthwith shall return. To be of civilized man a progenitor his destiny shall be. As for you, Ningazida, to earth with Adapa you shall return. Of civilized man at your father's side to become the teacher. So did Anu the king the decision make. The destiny of Adapa and Ningazida he determined. To the assembled savants and nobles, princes and counselors Anu and the other two returned. To the assembled words of decision Anu announced. The welcome of the earthling must not be overextended. On our planet he cannot eat or drink. Of his astounding abilities we have all seen, let him to earth return. Let his offspring there on earth fields till and in meadows shepherd. To ensure his safety and avoid his agitation, Ningazida with him back will travel. With him the seeds of Nibiru of grains which multiply to earth will be sent. Dumuzi, the youngest, for a shar with us shall stay. Then to earth with ewes and the essence of sheep he shall return. This was the decision of Anu. To the king's words all in agreement their head bowed. At the appointed time Ningazida and Adapa to the place of the celestial chariot were taken. Anu and Dumuzi, Ilabrat and counselors, nobles and heroes to them farewell bade. There was roaring and shuddering, and the chariot was lofted. The planet Nibiru grow smaller they saw, then from horizon to zenith the heavens they saw. On their journey Ningazida to Adapa the planet gods explained. Of sun and earth are arid the moon to him lessons he gave. Of how the months chase one another and how earth's year is counted him he taught. When to earth they returned, to his father Enki Ningazida all that had happened related. Enki laughed and struck his loins. It all went as I expected with glee, he said. Except the detention of Dumuzi. That is a puzzle, so did Enki say. By the prompt return of Ningazida and Adapa, Enlil was greatly puzzled. What is the matter? What on Nibiru transpired of Enki and Ningazida, he inquired. Let Nimma too be summoned. Let her too of what transpired here, Enki to him said. After Nimma arrived, to Enlil and to her Ningazida all did tell. Enki, his cohabitation with the earthling females, also related. No rules have I broken, our satiation I have ensured, so Enki to them said. No rules did you break? The fates of Anunnaki and earthlings by a rash deed you determined, so did Enlil in anger say. Now the lot is cast, destiny by fate is overtaken. With fury was Enlil seized, with anger he turned and left them standing. To Eridu Marduk came, by his mother Damkina was he summoned. The odd ongoings to verify of his father and brother he demanded. To keep the secret from Marduk hidden father and brother decided. Anu by the civilized man was enthralled, to at once all on earth satiate he commanded. So they to Marduk only part of the truth revealed. By Adapa and Titi Marduk was impressed, to the boys he took a liking. While Ningazida Adapa is instructing, let me the boys' teacher be, so did Marduk to his father Enki and Enlil say. Let Marduk teach one, let Ninurta teach the other, to them Enlil responded. In Eridu, Ningazida with Adapa and Titi stayed, numbers and writing Adapa he taught. The twin who was first in birth, Ninurta to Bad Tibera his city took. Cain, he who in the field food grows, he called him. To dig canals for watering he taught, sowing and reaping he was teaching. A plow from the wood of trees Ninurta for Cain made, with it a tiller of the land to be. The other brother, son of Adappa, by Marduk to the meadows was taken. Abel, he of the watered meadows, his name was thereafter called. How to build stalls Marduk him taught, for shepherding to start, the return of Dumuzi they awaited. When the Shar was completed, Dumuzi to earth returned. The essence, seed of sheep, used for the growing, with him he brought. Four-legged animals of Nibiru to another planet, the earth, he conveyed. His return with essence, seed, and use was cause for much celebration. Into the care of his father Enki, Dumuzi with his precious cargo returned. The leaders then got together how to proceed with the new breed they considered. Never before was there a ewe on earth, a lamb has never to earth from the heavens been dropped. A she-goat has never before to her kid given birth. Weaving of sheep's wool has never before been established. The Anunnaki leaders, Enki and Enlil, Ninmah and Ningazita, who the creators were, a creation chamber, a house of fashioning to establish decided. Upon the pure mound of the landing place in the Cedar Mountains it was established. Near where the elixir seeds by Ninmah brought were planted there was the creation chamber established. There was the multiplying of the grains and of the ewes on earth begun. Of Cain for sowing and reaping Ninurta was the mentor. Of Abel, the arts of ewe and lamb rearing and shepherding Marduk was the mentor. When the first crops were reaped, when the first sheep matured, let there be a celebration of first Enlil a decree proclaimed. Before the assembled Anunnaki the first grains, the first lambs were presented. At the feet of Enlil and Enki, Cain, by Ninurta guided, his offering placed. At the feet of Enlil and Enki, Abel, by Marduk guided, his offering placed. Enlil to the brothers gave a joyful blessing, their labors he extolled. Enki his son Marduk embraced. The lamb for all to see he raised. Meat for eating, wool for wearing, to earth have come, Enki said. Now this is the account of the generations of Adappa, and the killing of Abel by Cain, and what thereafter transpired. After the celebration of first was over, sullen was Cain's face. By the lack of Enki's blessing greatly he was aggrieved. As to their task the brothers returned. Abel before his brother was boasting. I am the one who abundance brings, who the Anunnaki satiates, who gives strength to the heroes, who wool for their clothing provides. Cain by his brother's words was offended. To his boasting strongly he objected. It is I who the plain luxuriates, who furrows with grains makes heavy, in whose fields birds multiply, in whose canals fish become abundant. Sustaining bread by me is produced, with fish and fowl the Anunnaki diet I variate. On and on the twin brothers each other disputed. Through the winter time they argued. When summer began it was not raining, the meadows were dry, the pastures dwindled. Into the fields of his brother Abel his flocks drove, from the furrows and the canals to drink water. By this Cain was angered, to move the flocks away his brother he commanded. Farmer and shepherd, brother and brother, words of accusation uttered. They sped on each other, with their fists they fought. Greatly enraged, Cain a stone picked up. With it he Abel in the head struck. Again and again he hit him until Abel fell, his blood from him gushing. When Cain his brother's blood saw, Abel, Abel, my brother, he shouted. Motionless on the ground did Abel remain, from him his soul had departed. By the brother whom he had killed, Cain remained. For a long time he sat crying. Titi it was who of the killing was the first to know by a premonition. In a dream vision, as she was sleeping, Abel's blood she saw, in the hand of Cain it was. Adappa from his sleep she awakened, her dream vision to him she told. A heavy sorrow fills my heart, did something terrifying happen? So did Titi to Adappa say, greatly agitated she was. In the morning the two from Eridu departed, to the whereabouts of Cain and Abel they went. In the field they found Cain, by the dead Abel he was still seated. A great cry of agony Titi shouted. Adappa spread mud on his head. What have you done? What have you done? To Cain they shouted. Silence was Cain's answer. To the ground he threw himself and wept. To Eridu city Adapa returned. What had happened to the Lord Enki he told. With fury Enki Cain confronted. Accursed you shall be, to him he said. From the Eden you must depart. Among Anunnaki and civilized earthlings you shall not stay. As to Abel in the fields, his body cannot for the wild birds remain. As the Anunnaki custom is, he in a grave below a stone pile shall be buried. How Abel to bury Enki to Adapa and Titi showed, for the custom to them was not known. For 30 days and 30 nights was Abel by his parents mourned. To Eridu for judgment Cain was brought, the exile sentence to pronounce Enki wished. For his deed Cain himself must be slain, so did Marduk with anger say. Let the 7 who judge be assembled, so did Ninurna of Cain the mentor say. Whoever of such an assembling ever heard, Marduk shouted, that for one not from Nibiru Anunnaki leaders shall to judge be called? Is it not enough that one by Ninurta mentored, the one by me favored has killed? Is it not that as Ninurta Anzu did vanquish, so did Cain against his brother rise? Like the fate of Anzu, Cain's fate should be. His life breath should be extinguished. So did Marduk in anger to Enki, Enlil, and Ninurta say. Ninurta by the words of Marduk was saddened. Silence, not words, his answer was. Let me with Marduk my son words in private have to them, Enki said. When in Enki's private chambers he and Marduk were, my son to Marduk Enki softly spoke, your agony is great. Let us not agony with agony compound. A secret that on my heart has heavily emburdened me, let me to you tell. Once upon a time, as by the river I strolled, 2 earthland maidens my face caught. By them from my seed were Adapa and Titi conceived. A new kind of earthling, a civilized man, by that upon the earth was brought. Whether they to procreate were able, our king Anu in doubt was. By the birth of Cain and Abel were Anu and the council on Nibiru convinced. A new phase of Anunnaki presence on this planet was welcomed and approved. Now that Abel has been slain, and if Cain too shall be extinguished, satiation to an end would come, mutinies will be repeated, all that was achieved shall crumble. No wonder that to Abel a liking you took, the son of your half-brother he was. Now on the other one have pity, let the line of Adapa survive. So did Enki with sadness a secret to Marduk his son reveal. By the revelation Marduk was at first astounded, then by laughter he was overcome. Of your love-making prowess much to me was rumored, now of that I am convinced. Indeed, let Cain's life be spared to the ends of the earth, let him be banished. So did Marduk, from anger to laughter changing to his father say. In Eridu judgment upon Cain by Enki was pronounced. Eastward to a land of wandering for his evil deed Cain must depart. That his life must be spared, he and his generations shall be distinguished. By Ningazita was the life essence of Cain altered. That his face a beard should not grow, Cain's life essence Ningazita changed. With his sister Awan, a spouse, Cain from the Eden departed. To the land of wandering he set his course. Now the Anunnaki set and among themselves wondered. Without Abel, without Cain, who shall for us the grains grow and bread make? Who shall be the shepherd, the ewes multiply, wool for clothing provide? Let by Adapa and Titi more proliferation be, so did the Anunnaki say. With the blessing of Enki, Adapa his spouse Titi knew again and again. One daughter, another daughter, each time again and again were born. In the 95th Shar, a son Adapa and Titi finally had. Sati, he who life binds again, Titi he named. By him were the generations of Adapa counted. In all, 30 sons and 30 daughters Adapa and Titi had. Of them tillers of the land and shepherds for the Anunnaki toiled. By them did satiation to Anunnaki and civilized earthlings come back. In the 97th Shar, to Sati a son by his spouse Azura was born. By the name Enki in the annals he was recorded. Master of humanity meant his name. By Adapa his father writing in numbers he was made to understand. And who the Anunnaki were and all about Nibiru by Adapa Enki was told. To Nibru-Ki by the sons of Enlil he was taken, secrets of the Anunnaki him they taught. How the perfumed oils for anointing Nanar, Enlil's on earth the eldest, him showed. How the elixir from the Enbu fruits to prepare Ishkur, Enlil's youngest, him instructed. It was since then that by civilized man the Anunnaki lords were called, and of the rites of worship of the Anunnaki that the beginning was. Thereafter to Enki by his sister Nome a son was born. Cunan, he of the kilns, his name had the meaning. For by Ninurta in Bad Tibera he was tutored, of furnace and kiln there he learned. How with bitumens fires to make, how to smelt and refine he was taught. In the smelting and refining of gold for Nibiru he and his offspring toiled. In the 98th Shar did this matter come about. Now this is the account of the generations of Adapa after Cain was exiled, and the heavenly journeys of Enki and the death of Adapa. In the 99th Shar to Cunan a son was born. By Mulet, a half-sister of Cunan, he was conceived. Malelu, he who plays, she named him. In music and song he excelled. For him Ninurta a stringed harp made, a flute for him he shaped. Hymns to Ninurta Malelu played, with his daughters before Ninurta they sang. The spouse of Malelu, the daughter of his father's brother, was Dunna, was her name. In the 100th Shar, since the count on earth had begun, a son of Malelu and Dunna was born, their firstborn he was. Irid, he of the sweet waters, his mother Dunna him named. Him Demuzi how wells to dig had taught, for flocks in distant meadows water to provide. It was there, by the wells in the meadows, that shepherds and maidens gathered, where espousing and proliferation by civilized mankind exceedingly abounded. In his days the Igigi to earth were more frequently coming. To observe and see from the heavens they increasingly abandoned. To watch and see what on earth was transpiring they increasingly desired. To be with them on Lamu Enki Marduk beseeched. To watch and see what on earth was transpiring Marduk more fervently wished. At a well in the meadows did Irid his spouse meet. Baraka was her name, the daughter of his mother's brother she was. At the conclusion of the 102nd Shar a son to them was born. By the name Inkami, by Inkami understanding in the annals he was called. Wise and intelligent he was, numbers he quickly understood. About the heavens and all matters celestial he was constantly curious. To him the Lord Enki took a liking. Secrets once to Adapa revealed to him he told. Of the family of the sun and the 12 celestial gods Enki him was teaching, and how the months by the moon were counted and the years by the sun, and how by Nibiru the Shars were counted, and how the counts by Enki were combined, how the Lord Enki the circle of the heavens to 12 parts divided, a constellation to each one how Enki assigned, 12 stations in a grand circle he arranged, how to honor the 12 Anunnaki great leaders by names the stations were called. To explore the heavens Inkami was eager, 2 celestial journeys he did make. And this is the account of Inkami's journeys to the heavens, and how the Igigi troubles and intermarriages by Marduk were started. To be with Marduk in the landing place Inkami was sent. From there Marduk in a rocket ship to the moon did him take. There what Marduk from his father Enki had learned to Inkami he did teach. When to earth Inkami returned to be with Utu in Sippar, the place of the chariots, he was sent. There a tablet for writing what he was learning by Utu to Inkami was given. Utu in his bright abode a prince of earthlings him installed. The rites him he taught, the functions of priesthood to begin. In Sippar, with his spouse Adina, a half-sister Inkami resided. To them in the 104th Shar a son was born. Methuselah, his mother him named, who by the bright waters raised the name Mint. It was after that Inkami on his second journey to the heavens went. This time, too, Marduk was his mentor and companion. In a celestial chariot heavenward they soared, toward the sun and away from it they circled. To visit the Igigi on Lamu by Marduk he was taken. To him the Igigi a liking took, of civilized earthlings from him they learned. Of him it is in the annals said that to the heavens he departed, that in the heavens he stayed till the end of his days. Before Inkami for the heavens departed, all that in the heavens he was taught. In writings Inkami a record made, for his sons to know he wrote it. All that is in the heavens in the family of the sun he wrote down. and about the quarters of the earth and its lands and its rivers too. To the hands of Methuselah, his firstborn son, the writings he entrusted, with his brothers Ragam and Gadad to study and abide by. In the 104th Shar was Methuselah born. To the Igigi, troubles in what Marduk had done, he was a witness. By his spouse Ednah, a son to Methuselah was born, Lumach. Mighty man was his name. In his days, conditions on earth became harsher. The toilers in the field and meadow raised complaints. As a workmaster, the Anunnaki Lumach appointed the quotas to enforce, the rations to reduce. In his days, it was that Adapa his death time attained. And when Adapa knew that his days to an end were coming, let all my sons and sons of sons assemble themselves to me, he said, that before I die I may bless them, and words to them speak before I die. And when Sati and the sons of the sons had gathered, where is Cain, my firstborn? Adapa of them all asked. Let him be fetched to them all, he said. Before the Lord Enki, Sati his father's wish presented. What to be done of the Lord, he asked. Enki then Ninurta summoned. Let the banished one, of whom the mentor you were, to Adapa's deathbed be brought. In his bird of heaven, Ninurta betook himself. To the land of wandering he flew. Over the lands he roamed. From the skies for Cain he searched. And when he found him, like on eagle's wings, Cain to Adapa he brought. When of his son's arrival Adapa was informed, let Cain and Sati before me come, Adapa said. Before their father the two came, Cain the firstborn on the right, Sati on the left. And the eyesight of Adapa having failed, for recognition his sons' faces he touched. And the face of Cain on the right was beardless, and the face of Sati on the left with beard was. And Adapa put his right hand on the head of Sati, the one on the left, and he blessed him and said, Of your seed shall the earth be filled. And of your seed as a tree with 3 branches, mankind a great calamity shall survive. And he put his left hand on the head of Cain on his right, and to him said, For your sin of your birthright you are deprived, but of your seed 7 nations shall come. In a realm set apart they shall thrive, distant lands they shall inhabit. But having your brother with a stone killed, by a stone will be your end. And when Adapa finished these words saying, his hands dropped, and he sighed and said, Now summon my spouse Titi, and all the sons and all the daughters. And after my spirit leaves me, to my birthplace by the river carry me. And with my face toward the rising sun there bury me. Like a wounded beast, Titi cried out. To her knees by Adapa's side she fell. And the 2 sons of Adapa, Cain and Sati, in a cloth his body wrapped. In a cave by the banks of the river, by Titi shown, Adapa they buried. In the midst of the 93rd Shar was he born. By the end of the 108th he died. A long life for an earthling he had. The life cycle of Enki he did not have. And after Adapa was buried, Cain to his mother and brother farewell bade. Ninurta in his bird of heaven to the land of wandering him he returned. And in a distant realm Cain had sons and daughters, and he from them a city built, and as he was building by a falling stone he was killed. In the Eden, Lumach, as a workmaster the Anunnaki served. In the days of Lumach did Marduk and the Igigi with earthlings intermarry.